All right, self-efficacy. So we just talked about modeling, and self-efficacy is one of the next big players in social cognitive theory. Um, self-efficacy is my jam. So just so you all know, my personal research interests involve how culturally responsive teaching make teachers more effective, which make their self-efficacy go up, which in turn helps their well-being. And so I just love this whole concept. It is literally defined as a self belief about your capability for success. So it's do you believe in yourself? Just like what was his name, Dalton, just like Dalton talks about. And so this is influenced by your past performances. This is influenced by modeling, verbal persuasion, and your psychological states. So just take a minute to look at those influences and how self efficacy can be so varied per student and per person, really. There is such a thing called collective efficacy that I think plays into our classroom cultures a lot, often. And so this is just the belief in a success with respect to a group or social system. And so I really did like referring to my class as a team. And if we were succeeding as a team or struggling as a team, and how we would kind of play into what we needed as a group to succeed. And so um, it's also found in a school wide system, and this is talking more about your administration, how collective efficacy within the school system can produce your teacher self efficacy. So when you're interviewing at schools, you might want to talk about what is your school's sense of collective efficacy? Like, what's the teamwork like? Is this a school that works together and works through challenges together, or is it more of on an individual basis? That'd be a good interview question when you go into that process. And so these are just some strategies for you. You can pause this, you can screenshot this, and so I won't read them all out loud to you. They're just good strategies. Um, and when I say teach, I was just pointing to the screen like you could see me. Teach basic knowledge and skills to mastery. It doesn't mean, your students have to be perfect. It means, and we'll learn about this in motivation, mastery level goals have a lot of intermittent goals to get to that product that you want. So that's what mastery means. It's kind of a different connotation than the normal word. So just by telling students they can be successful, providing them with those successful models can go so far. Show students those peer models of similar ability successfully accomplishing tasks. So I wanted to show you, this is a slide from one of my 5th grade PowerPoints, but we checked in with these 7 character traits every day. And about, I think once a week or like once a month, we picked a peer who was the representative for each word. And that peer's name got on the board with the character trait. And so if ever someone was struggling with zest or self-control or grit, whatever it was, I would say, look at this peer because they're the model for the month and they demonstrate this every day. And so that's an example of that strategy. These are just more. So more strategies for you. After mastering the basic skill, provide students with tasks that require some challenge. So you don't just, they achieve it and you move on. Now you're scaffolding up so that you're continuing to challenge them. You've got small cooperative learning groups going on. And then, of course, help students learn to accurately evaluate their knowledge and skills. This goes into misconceptions. So sometimes students will not understand where they are in terms of ability, whether it's academic, whether it's social emotional, whether it's a specific skill that they're feeling. Maybe they're feeling super low self-efficacy and they're actually really good at it. And maybe they're feeling really high self-efficacy and they're really not that good at it. And so I remember I had a student, Jamari, poor Jamari, he tried so hard and he felt like he did so good on this writing exam. And when it came down to me conferencing with him, I had to explain to him why he didn't do so good. And that takes, a certain type of finesse to explain to a student in a loving manner and bring them down so they can see what they need to improve on and reach that mastery level. And so that's helping them to track their progress on challenging tasks. You can provide them with a bigger picture and kind of where they are in terms of that bigger picture, give them visuals, all that stuff. And so constantly always thinking about challenges that teachers might face. I kind of gave you an example of one. But if we were in the classroom, I might have you get into small groups and talk about what would be actually challenging with these strategies. So make sure you're constantly thinking about that as we go. So teacher self-efficacy is my jam. What is it? So pause me. Did you pause me? Pause me and jot down a definition in your own words. What is teacher self-efficacy? Okay, so this is a self-constructed judgment about the ability to effectively deliver instruction, to effectively facilitate classroom management, styles and processes, and then create a productive learning environment. And so now we're thinking about how might teacher self-efficacy or lack thereof affect the classroom. And so think about the teacher with a very small voice, who's very insecure, and they kind of get small in their stature. And then you've got the teacher who just commands the room. I love this picture just because your stature matters. When I watch videos of my teaching, a lot of times you can see what level efficacy you had during that lesson. So, for lessons that I'm really confident in, you can see I'm beaming, I'm very commanding, I feel confident, and then that translates into literally my efficacy for that lesson. And so teachers with high self-efficacy, they experiment a lot, and teaching's constantly changing. We know that. And so these are the non-traditional teachers it's that teacher who built a cell in his room, right? It's the teacher who is constantly trying new things, even though they might not work. And that's okay. So these teachers have higher expectations and goals for their students and for themselves. They tend to put more effort into teaching. They don't give up on students, and they take responsibility for their success and for their failure. And so a lot of times when a lesson flopped in my room, even like when I'm teaching you all, it's never the fault of the students. It's always, what can I do next time to improve that lesson? Because obviously one of my strategies were not effective. And then there are some teachers who, when they succeed, they don't pat themselves on the back. They don't allow themselves to feel good. So actually taking responsibility for your success is important in this too. So the reason I got into my doctoral program is this statistic right here. 50% of teachers will burn out within their first 5 years of teaching. It's crazy to think about, and I see it. I'm sure you see it. The nation sees it. Teachers are exhausted. Teachers are struggling with self-efficacy. So in your Nearpod activity, you're going to think about this question: how can we promote our own teacher self-efficacy? And I really want you to think about that one, because you're going to have to engage in this when you start teaching.